So uncivilized.
I love it.
Damn it. Such a good intro.
Guys, that's the good intro. Thank you. That's the last time we're going to see it, though, unfortunately, because
For a while.
Hey, you shut your mouth hole.
But
Don't talk like that.
I will in a second. For right now, I have the high ground, so I have to keep my mouth hole open. Welcome
Okay.
to Rule of Three. My name is Anthony from Fever Dreamland Theater. With me, as always, Berger Rokar, Jonathan from Man of Movies. And it's a bit of a sad day because we're talking about Part 8, the Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord. This is the last episode of the series, guys. It's been fun. It's been quite a ride. We did it too with this episode. Maybe I'm talking too early because we haven't quite done it. But with this episode now, we did this for 7 weeks in a row because the first week, we knocked out episode 1 and 2, and here we are. So I'm gonna pat us on the back because we did it despite jobs, work, kids, chores, things, some jail sentences. We made it through, and we're here. Jace, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I appreciate you asking. I'm stoked to be talking about this. It is bittersweet, but you know what? I'm a bit of an optimist here, and I have no reason to believe that though this is the last episode of Ahsoka, that this is like the last gathering of the Rule of Three, or who knows when you'll ever see us again. Let's cut the sheesh. We're gonna go ahead and talk some Star Wars at some point or another. Whether a show, a movie, or something. But it's hard to not talk Star Wars. With that being said, though, yeah, I'm doing great, man, and I'm stoked to see what you guys thought of this finale because I found it to be a unique finale.
Okay,
I want to dive in more, but I'm gonna obviously wait.
Yeah, and as always, guys, we don't know just yet. We haven't talked beforehand, so I have no idea. Love, hate, whatever it is. Jonathan, how are you tonight, man?
I'm doing good, Anthony. You owe me about $4,000 for that bail bond. I think it was around episode 4 when you went to jail. Anyway, guys, it is kind of bittersweet because we've been doing this for the better part of 2 months, week in and week out. Like, that is insane. It's gonna be sad in a week when we were not gonna be together. We're gonna have to wait a little bit longer till we see our beautiful faces again. But we're here now, and we're gonna talk about this finale and unique. I like that word, unique. Yeah, sure, unique.
Unique is that's our word for the night. I want to just say what's up to the chat, and I also wanted to say thank you to the chat because I see a new face in here. Let's see. Did you see that is here? All right. How you doing?
Hey.
What's up, Mike?
How you doing? I think he was here I think he was here before though. I have to give very special thanks to Eric Thorpe. This guy's been here like through thick and thin. He's been with us since the beginning, and I'm glad to see him here tonight. And of course, View with Drew, also very special thanks. Dan, hey, look at that. Dan is here. Okay, so the chat is filling up, and I want to say thank you ahead of time to anybody checking us out in the replay. All right, so I guess let's get this show on the road, and let's check out the episode synopsises, and we'll do this thing.
Awesome.
Ooh, let's get it.
I'm stoked.
All righty. Now, this episode was, as always, written by Dave Filoni, and it was directed by Rick Famuyiwa. Elsbeth is gifted a Night Sister sword from the Great Mothers to confront the Jedi, while Bridger constructs a new lightsaber using spare parts from his late master, Kanan. Ahsoka, Wren, and Bridger make their way to the Chimera, which is docked with the Eye of Sion. But they're confronted by Elsbeth and the Night Troopers, whom the Great Mothers keep resurrecting after they're killed. Wren uses the Force to help Bridger jump onto the Chimera while Ahsoka kills Elsbeth. The Eye of Sion jumps to hyperspace, leaving Ahsoka, Wren, and Huyang stranded on Peridia. As Thrawn and the Great Mothers arrive over Dathomir, Bridger escapes and reunites with Hera, Chopper, and the rest of the New Republic fleet. Ahsoka, Wren, and Huyang join the Na'vi and make their new home on Peridia. Watched over by Anakin's Force ghost, one last time. We actually got to see him. Hati joins the bandits while Skull is guided to a mountain by a statue of the Mortis gods.
Say what?
The Mortis
What the
gods.
hell was
No,
that
it's
last
funny.
sentence?
It's funny because with Rule of Three, it becomes, it's so funny, man, that we ended up doing this stream because Trinities are such a huge part of this show, right? We have the 3 Night Sisters, and now we have the Mortis gods, and it's appropriate that the Rule of Three is talking about this.
I love that.
Man, it worked out beautifully. All right,
It
so just I guess initial thoughts we'll just start with. Let's go to Jonathan. I'm curious because I didn't get any oofs, so I have no clue what you thought of it.
Was it last week?
But that was like last week and the week before, but it's legendary. What are your overall thoughts on this episode? What do you think?
Aside from some momentary lapses of like plot holes and like little things here and there, I'm like, okay, I mean, I'll forgive it. Aside from these moments, I thought it was an incredible episode. I thought it ended with a bang. Now, it's unique in the sense that it didn't end the way I thought it was going to end. We didn't get any answers, guys. But
I got one answer. I'm going to kind of moan about a little bit in a second, but yeah, sure. overall, you're right. I agree. Not many answers.
A lot of our questions were always concerning Balin and Shin, and yet we got no answers there. But we did get some good cliffhangers. Yeah, and I do appreciate that. Here's something Disney Plus has done. When something like an Obi-Wan was about to end, they would advertise it as the series finale. I remember it being advertised as such. Ahsoka is being advertised as season finale. Guys, there's a season 2. They don't have to come out here and tell us outright. There's a season 2, just the way this episode ended. But I'm happy. I'm happy. Even though I didn't get answers to my Balin questions, I still felt that what everything led up to, this was like a 7 to 8 hour Star Wars movie. Yeah, it worked so well for me. And I think that's where I'll leave my thoughts for now.
Alrighty. Cool. Jace?
Man, I feel also in ways as far as left wanting, desiring a little bit more information from certain aspects of this, but overall, to focus on a little bit of the positives first, because I do feel like the positives outweighed the negatives here. I thought it was like it was a good conclusion. Few things that I do have to, we'll get to it, of course, that I have to mention that I really kind of have an issue with, but overall, like a pretty good conclusion to this as a season. I like that things ended on a note that is almost very much of a vibe of like Empire Strikes Back. Where by no means do the heroes win. Yes, we do see Ezra happen to get reunited with Hera and Chopper, as it said in the description. So there was a little bit of a victory there for sure. It was just kind of unique to see Ezra swap places with everybody else. But nonetheless, I like that though, because it just leaves you longing that much more for what's to come next. And especially to end an entire season like that, that's a really gutsy move that I appreciate they decided to go for. Because although it's on a much lesser scale, this is kind of like the Avengers losing in Infinity War, just to throw another quick example out there as far as heroes not coming up on top, but still liking the project a lot. Great season collectively. I think that it's easier to forgive some of the flaws of some of the earlier parts now, seeing everything come all together, like performances, for example. Rosario Dawson, it was very easy to pick at the like strictly stoic, almost somber way of acting, and realistically, I mean, could have been easy maybe to tell this from the beginning, but especially now you could realize that was a purposeful choice, and it's actually easier to see given the fact that she's different later on. So anyway, you can keep going as far as a lot more in depth here, but altogether, interesting finale. Curious to talk about it more with you guys, and good season overall. Good Star Wars, man. I'm glad that we're getting some good Star Wars.
All right. So it seems like we're gonna have a it seems like there's mostly a positive reaction to this. That's good, and we'll see what the chat thinks in a second. John, you mentioned not getting any answers. One of the things that came up in this episode was at one point we find out the reason why Sabine why her training was ended. We officially found that out, unless it was said and I missed it. We find out that it was directly related to the purge. And Ahsoka seemed fearful that, if I'm correct, she seemed fearful that Sabine was training for the wrong reasons to become a Jedi. So that's why the training stopped. There's this fear of her going dark, and again, the spirit of Anakin looms over this whole season, and definitely I could see why Ahsoka would feel that way. But my question is, when they finally just say it out there, they put it out there that so this is why these two kind of split up. Why couldn't we know that earlier on? Like, why did we have to wait until episode 8 to find out that that's why they split? Why? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. It always irked me. Like guys, what are your thoughts on it? Because it just feels like that was kind of important. And I'm trying to think narratively. Maybe I'm just not getting it narratively. Why isn't that something we couldn't just have learned around episode 2 or 3, just so we know, what the relationship was and why they broke up?
I always said that was such a big deal since the beginning of the season, because there were certain lines of dialogue spoken by other characters about the relationship between Ahsoka and Sabine that I just never bought because I never saw it. And it took all the way into the last episode to, well, guys, I mean, not even see it, but hear it. This is the literal example of exposition. I didn't hate it. I'm not going to say I hated it. Just because it's exposition doesn't mean it's bad. I did not hate that Hugh Wang was the one that told Ezra while building his lightsaber everything we needed to know about Sabine and Ahsoka. Whatever. Would I have wanted something better? Sure. I enjoyed what we got. But I agree, Anthony. Why now, after all this time of us trying to figure out, I mean, how bonded are they? I think last episode I had mentioned it, or somebody had mentioned about how Ahsoka was trying to call her out in the Force, and Hugh Wang is like, "Do you think you're bonded like that?" And I mean, they are, because they were able to hear each other last episode, but I still don't believe it. I think it would have been a lot better if one of the episodes, one of the shorter runtimed episodes, that we could have gone and maybe just show the most minuscule of flashbacks, like a fight, right? Like two parents fighting, and then the dad just runs out the house, slams the door, quick, something like that, where Sabine's the one to kind of just leave, or maybe Ahsoka's the one to just leave, and we can get something there. Come back to the end, maybe add some more here and there, but to get everything, no, that's nuts.
I don't know. It's like there was this withholding of information throughout, and sometimes that's for reasons. Sometimes there's a purpose to it. Here, maybe when I rewatch the whole show, I'll say, oh, okay, I guess I see why they went that route. Jace, what are your thoughts on this?
No, I agree. I actually think you're explaining it really well. So, when you try to think about this narratively, right? Like what is the actual purpose story-wise of releasing this information at this particular point? Because all of this is intentful, or with intent, right? They do this on purpose. So this almost feels like an afterthought. And it reminds me of, if I can give an analogy of, like, imagine when you're hungry, and then, when you kind of reach that point where you're really hungry, really hungry, really hungry, and then you kind of like, your body's like, whatever, dude, right? Like, I'm still hungry, but you start to go into, I guess, what's known as starvation mode, and you're feeding off of, like, your fats and your sugars inside your body, whatever the case is, like, as far as what's actually biologically taking place. But the point is it's not that you're not hungry anymore, but you more or less are just kind of over it, right? You're trying to, like, move on. And it kind of feels almost similar here, where it's like, did I still want those answers? 100%. But throwing it in here, it's almost like I'm focused on so much more other stuff that's going on at this point that I kind of feel like it's really being shoehorned in. It's like, yeah, I still wanted to know, but, like, why are you telling me now? It's like, it's kind of overdue at this point. And not just that, but I do also, I'm not going to be too crazy about it. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but I do feel like the delivery of the news, given the fact that it's via a completely separate character, so it's not even Ahsoka or Sabine that's telling us what happened, and it's just somebody telling somebody else what happened. I just, to me, that was the part where it's like, come on, man. Like John was saying, you can't go ahead and just give us just a few flashbacks, just showcasing a little bit of the tense vibes that build up between them and kind of what led to the decision that was. You could do that all in one episode. Or you don't need to drag it out throughout the season. But I definitely just felt like that was an odd place to put it. Again, it was like, okay, cool, right? Nice. We got some closure there, but it doesn't feel quite as satisfying.
It's I felt like a little too little, too late. I mean, I perfect analogy. I mean, aside from just making me hungry from talking about food that much, I agree completely.
All right, me too.
But I don't want to harp on this too much. It was a thing that struck me during the episode. It was like, part of me was like, hey, all right, they gave me an answer, but the other part of me was like, looking at my watch. I don't have a watch, but you get it. Why episode 8? Anyway, I'm gonna move on. I promise that. End rant. And I want to say a quick hello to Angel, who's in the chat as well. How you doing, Angel? Thank you for stopping in. There you go.
Don't know, Angel.
Good luck.
Thrawn. I do want to talk about Thrawn next because he's such a big part of this episode. I thought Thrawn kicked ass overall in this episode. Last week it felt like he was taking some hits, and this week I felt like he got some wins. I feel like I saw a strategy from him. I feel like I saw that like where he was going. I feel like I understand his character a little bit more. And again, I love the performance. Guys, thoughts on Thrawn? Just general thoughts. Are we happy with this villain and where we are with him now? Either one of you, feel free. Whoever talks first can talk.
Okay,
Going.
Fair enough. Man, I love the performance as Thrawn. Do I have some maybe slight issues as far as decision making or the way of going about things? Yeah, on a nitpicky level for sure. But nothing that's overwhelmingly like, oh my gosh, why would they do this? I can't stand they did this with the character. I am really excited to see where it continues for him from this point moving forward. I imagine that we're leading as close as we can to an heir to the Empire storyline. I know obviously they've been mentioning the words heir to the Empire multiple times, but I really think we're going to get like the equivalent of that story moving forward. And my gosh, that is going to be so badass if we do. And yeah, as far as what we got here, I did like as far as the strategic way he was going about things in the background, right? Which is what he's really best at. He's good at brainstorming the kind of whole game plan and then executing it. There was a lot of him just kind of standing around and observing in this episode. Understandably
so good at standing around.
He is. I mean, he seems pretty damn menacing just standing there. That's for sure. He does a good job at it. But yeah, man, I really like Thrawn. I don't know what else to say. I feel bad for anybody that's just not getting it at this point. I still see a whole bunch of people that are like trying to, tear things apart piece by piece.
Yeah. I've seen some hate for Thrawn online. John, are you pretty much? I don't mean to cut you off. Were you? You're good, John. Are you mostly happy with Thrawn at this point, and where they ended up with it?
I love Thrawn. I love Thrawn, and I've loved Thrawn in these 3 episodes that we got him. I do have sort of an issue is that we never got back to peak Thrawn that we got in episode 6, in my opinion. We talk so much about Thrawn being this strategic, militant type of intelligent leader. And I feel like we really got that in episode 6. And then 7 and 8, in my opinion, as much as I think Lars Mikkelsen did a great job and Thrawn was good, he ended up becoming what he was in Rebels in the sense that he was a villain in which circumstances just happened to end up going his way instead of him actually thinking things through and like, I had this planned all along. I don't have a hat on, but if I had a hat on, I wanted to take my hat off, throw it on the ground and go, oh, man, this guy's 3 steps ahead. He could say it all he wants. I just never believed it.
He says it a lot in relation to Ahsoka, right? Especially at the end. He's playing with their mind a little bit, right? Where he mentions, it seems like Anakin is really hanging over this episode. He's a lot of his fears with Ahsoka and the Jedi in general are tied, like they seem to tie back to Anakin. They seem to tie back to his loss, against Ezra and Rebels. So, I mean, I don't know. I also like, and I guess we might as well just get into the Night Sisters because they played a big part in this. Yeah. And Elsbeth also played a big part in this. I like that whole sort of weird, union that they all had, and how it all kind of came together. We have witches in Star Wars. I know we've people who have watched Clone Wars and stuff. We've seen witches before, but I mean, I think for casual viewers, that's kind of a cool new thing, and perfect timing for Halloween. And I know we'll get into the zombie troopers later on too. But like, what are your thoughts on like this whole do you like how the plan is sort of coming together? I feel like we have a little bit of a clearer idea on what Thrawn's planning to do with the Night Sisters, and we have the cargo. It's all loaded up. I'm assuming it's all Night Sister bodies that they're going to be resurrected on Dathomir. That's sort of my assumption.
I used to think that a few weeks ago, but now I'm thinking that they're just in some sort of hibernation. Because Ezra says a line toward the end of the episode that Thrawn woke up the Great Mothers.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting, and Thrawn is not magical at all. Thrawn didn't use any sort of magic to wake them up. He doesn't even understand it. So what I'm guessing is that those catacombs, those tombs or whatever, those are just hibernation chambers of sorts. These are just Night Sisters that are in a hibernation state, and maybe when they get to Dathomir, they'll start waking them up. And the plan itself, bro, I'm with it. This is leading up to Heir to the Empire. That's what I am excited for. But I need more content. I need an Ahsoka season 2. I need a Mando season 4. I need Skeleton Crew to come along. Yeah. Maybe one extra show. Who knows? 2 extra shows to then get to Heir to the Empire. It can't be Ahsoka and then Heir to the Empire. That's just, it can't be that. I'm good waiting a few years for Heir to the Empire.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like they're telling a friggin' huge story here. It has to be. We have to get more, and I feel you on that. Like, yeah, we definitely need some more. General thoughts, Jace, on like the Night Sisters and where this is all going, and I guess the army that Thrawn is building in this whole alliance.
Yeah, I love the inclusion of the Night Sisters. Like, I love everything that they've done to execute them so well in live action. It's one of those where I really feel bad for anyone where this is their very first introduction, although it totally makes sense because live action wise this is it. But obviously, as mentioned, we got the Clone Wars series where they pop up a lot, and then there is the Jedi Fallen Order game where you go to Dathomir, right? And a Night Sister is literally one of the main characters, a side character in the game. So it's cool to see them be brought to life like the way that they were. Really, it's like they're replicas of Mother Talzin from the Clone Wars series. I dug the whole little ceremony thing that they did to bless Morgan with the powers that they gave her. And I actually thought it was cool. They gave her the Sword of Talzin. So again, right, Mother Talzin.
I didn't need to write it down because you remembered it, thank God. But yeah, that was pretty awesome, man. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. So yeah, Mother Talzin was like the great mother that existed for the Night Sisters in the Clone Wars series. So I was not expecting that at all. I was like, oh, cool, because I don't even remember Mother Talzin having a sword. So that was really interesting. And then I also love the face paint. I got a little bit of a kick out of it. I can't help it. I don't know why, because it reminded me of like I'm not trying to say this in a terribly rude way, but when like you go to some sort of festival and you see it's like, hey kids, you can get your face painted for and I'm saying
I felt that with Elsbeth even more so.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Like, yeah. Okay. I was I mean,
the Night Sisters look good, right?
Yeah.
Elsbeth was just like, oh, let's make you look like a Night Sister.
This is hilarious because this is a video I watched and I laughed about it as well because this ritual is what Asajj Ventress goes through verbatim in the Clone Wars. Verbatim, sorry. And in the Clone Wars, when she's about to get, the power of shadows, is that what it is? Or something of shadows?
So, yeah. The gift of shadows I have written down.
The gift of shadows. That's exactly what it was. Asajj ends up getting like lifted up into the air, like gets all these like mystical things all over her. And then you could see that we just did not have the budget for that. And so we just did face paint.
You know what? I'm surprised they at least didn't go like full Night Sister with her in a way. Like I'm almost surprised that she didn't just kind of like start donning the full white skin with the black streaks or
Yeah,
whatever.
like a cool transformation or something like that. Instead, it was just like, we're gonna slap some paint on you because you're gonna be dead soon. On that note, I wanted to say something about that. They telegraphed so much that she's just going off to die. It's like she gets this upgrade, and then she gets just quickly downgraded to death. I just straight up didn't like that. It just felt like she was just going into her death. Like, just dramatically speaking, that just didn't quite work for me. It felt more like, yo, she just got this sword. She should be a badass now. Now send her in to kill. Like, why are we just sending her in? And it's completely telegraphed that, like,
I feel like that sword is
the Empire.
cursed.
Peace out.
I have a feeling that the sword of Talzin is cursed.
It's
Because
cursed.
the only reason this is the second time we see it in Star Wars. The first time we see it is when she goes head to head with Mace Windu in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And I think it's that very same episode where she sort of Talzin dissipates. She loses the battle. And then we see it again and she loses the battle. It's almost like this sword is cursed. But I see what you mean, Anthony. I almost feel that Elspeth knew that was her fate.
Okay. I mean, it's just we already have characters with plot armor, and that's a thing. And then we have this too. It just feels like, come on, guys, we have to keep the drama. I want to at least believe that maybe Ezra's gonna die or Sabine or something. I don't want to just believe like, oh, here goes another villain to get picked off, and let's just see how long she lasts in battle. Although it was a pretty cool battle, I'll give them that. Yeah, okay, so Eric Thorpe agrees. Elspeth did look a little something.
Well, I will say this. I don't think I really had as much of an issue with any of this strictly because of this. She was almost on the verge of like annoying to me for a lot of the season, and I felt like this was a really, really nice redemption for her character, honestly.
Okay.
Like I'll put it this way. Like, if you're gonna go out with a bang, and she by all means did, because just to throw it out there, guys, I don't know about you, but like I would go as far as saying that the fight between her and Ahsoka in this episode, quite possibly like the most intense fight throughout the entire season. I was really gripped as far as by it. Now, granted, I would have to go back and maybe watch the rest again to kind of second think it over again, maybe is the best way to say it. But nonetheless, man, I loved it. Like, the intensity behind it was fantastic. The choreography was really well done, and Morgan Elsbeth knows how to swing that damn sword, bruh. She's not playing around. So all in all, I felt like, yes, it was kind of discouraging to maybe get an upgrade and immediately die, but it served a purpose, right? She did serve her purpose. At the end of the day, you can definitely say that she did what was intended of her. She brought everybody to this galaxy to save Thrawn, right? That was purpose number one, I guess, and then fulfilled the purpose of getting him to come back by sacrificing herself. And she did delay the heroes long enough to where they were not able to make it back. So at the end of it all, again, when you look at it, like I said, like a really badass redemption arc of going out with a bang for a character that, is not really like the most insanely compelling character overall. So I found that to be a good note.
I mean, in a show with Balin as like a villain / anti-hero, and Thrawn, she was definitely always, I would say lower tier, not an insult to the actress or anything like that. But yeah, that simply is what it is. Eric is bringing up a thing where he's saying, were you guys disappointed that there were no green fart clouds when the zombie troopers died? I figured this was a perfect lead-in because I want to talk about those zombie troopers. I thought they freaking this. They gave us exactly what we wanted. John, I guess we can start with you because what were your thoughts on the zombie troopers and the fart cloud thing? What are your thoughts?
And the fart cloud, you can't forget the fart clouds.
Do not forget the fart cloud. We never forget the fart clouds here on Rule of Three, people. Just okay. Please go.
I am not under the impression that the night troopers were dead. I'm not under that impression. I believe that they were very much alive. And it was when they died that first time, right, that they were brought back to life. Because we don't see as humorous as it is, those fart clouds when they died in the last episode or when they die the first time in this episode. But what we do see is when they die and the Great Mother's circle and do that chant, the mist starts to come in. It starts to come in. And then that's when it engulfs all of them. And they have like this horrific, just guttural, moaning, screaming, zombified version of themselves. And I thought it was dope, but I felt like such a nerd just geeking out. I did. I geeked out, but I felt like such a nerd. If somebody just said, what are you reacting to? Zombie stormtroopers. That's the most nerdy thing I think I've said all day.
But man, executed so well, though. I thought it was.
Yeah,
you know what's funny? Yeah. I heard someone else say this, and it made me crack up. And especially when it sank in, and I realized how accurate this statement was, it made it even funnier. It's hilarious how it seems as though resurrected, so like dead stormtroopers that are resurrected as zombies, seem to be more efficient and deadly than just standard stormtroopers.
Well, not according to Obi-Wan in The New Hope. They're always proficient.
I guess so. Yes. I guess so. No, but I thought it was something that as a little bit of a joking comment. My theory, and I say this lightly, okay? It's not really a theory. My theory was that the reason why we don't see the green smoke is because that red tape holding all their armor together. It's some really strong red tape. You know what I mean? It's like Star Wars, like duct tape, Gorilla tape or something like that.
Yeah.
No, but at the same time, we do see some of them get sliced, and we still don't see it. So obviously, jokes aside, that ain't real. Which it does lead me to think, why wasn't that the immediate go-to thing? If they're going to keep getting back up after being shot over and over and over and over, fair. So just start chopping them all to pieces. You all got lightsabers.
Yeah, but what are you doing? They don't know this. They don't. But they're under Disney now. But we can't blame Ahsoka. They don't know.
But we see a decapitation in the episode.
We don't actually.
Well, no, I mean, okay, we see a rolling head. We see the aftermath of a decapitation in this episode.
Remember, those bodies were rotting. Ezra probably just pushed it off.
I think it's something they got to take more advantage of that. They got to be, especially if it's like zombie troopers, right? And then what's there to feel so bad about? Chop them to pieces.
Yeah, I think that's it. It just kind of comes with the program. Yeah, they're highly choppable. Yeah, we need to be chopping them up.
Highly choppable.
I bring this up because this is something that I think I want to mention is that do we see them turn into fart clouds after they die again? Well, you know what though? They keep bringing them back to life. That's the thing. Mm-hmm. Like for example, Marok in episode 4 or 5, he just dissipates. He doesn't get brought back to life, and that's it, right? But these troopers are like being chopped and getting right back up. So they have no time for fart to seep through their suit.
Telling you, it's that red duct tape.
The red duct tape, yeah.
It's just swirling around inside of their little suit.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Stank.
Yep.
Eric is saying that Jace wants HBO Star Wars. I think we all want some HBO Star Wars, although I guess it's Max now.
No, you know what? What's funny is it's not though, because how can we even? It's a funny comment. I definitely see where he's coming from. Yeah. But let's be honest though, right? Let's take a little bit of a trek back here, dude. OG Star Wars. Did you not see people getting limbs cut off left and right? For crying out loud, Luke gets his hand cut off, right? Vader gets his hand cut like that. How many people lose limbs? Yeah. And it's just funny. Yeah. Even in the prequels, I feel like it just wasn't really that straight away from Darth Maul gets straight up cut in half, and we see what's so wrong to want them to stay consistent.
I don't want to tangent too far, but when we were talking about Elsbeth and that fight between her and Ahsoka, I did think for a second, because Elsbeth was so overpowered this time around, I know Ahsoka wasn't going to die or anything, but that maybe after she took out that one saber from her hand, that she would take out her actual hand, and we would have seen Ahsoka lose a hand. But no, I mean, safe Disney Star Wars.
I mean, we kind of got into this a little bit when Sabine, when Sabine just got stabbed with the saber. Now, I'm not gonna open up that can of worms too much, but again, it was just like Sabine could have like lost a limb, and I think we would have felt it a bit more in that early battle against Shin. I think Jace brought that up, but one of you guys brought it up, I agree completely. Then I would have just bought that a little bit more, but I mean, half the internet was screaming about like, about diminishing lightsabers and stuff like that. So
yeah. These were definitely the Fallen Jedi Order video game lightsaber, where it just kind of causes a little slash on the chest.
It's like a plastic bat, like a little kid with a plastic bat. It is. If it hits you right, you might be like, fuck my eye. But overall, you're pretty safe.
You just made me fart.
Was it green? All right. Ew. So I moving a little bit more toward the end of the show. All right, so I guess we get what we thought we were gonna get in terms of predictability. Thrawn gets back to the main galaxy, and we did have some people left behind. I wasn't quite sure exactly who would get left behind. I don't think anybody was. Like there was speculation and stuff. I liked where we left off. We have at the moment Sabine and Ahsoka is now sort of out of the picture, and it's just Ezra, and we got a great little reunion with Chopper and with Hera. But we're positioned now for some really fucking awesome stuff. Heir to the Empire, it's looking cool ahead. What I guess we'll start with Jace. What are your thoughts about where this all sort of wrapped up and where we're going now?
So I liked the majority of it, but this is actually where I got to squeeze in an issue. I want to know if you guys kind of feel the same about this. So it's tough because there is so much that I enjoyed, and there was a lot of, like decent amount of progression. So I was happy about that. And yet there's something that feels so off that it's weird, man. I didn't even catch it when I was first watching the episode. I was so enveloped in it that I didn't really think it through. And then it sank in on me. I think I was in the bathroom, and all of a sudden it was like, hey, you remember that show you just watched? You just start thinking about it. Doesn't this part seem weird? Basically, there is such a the
green fart smoke in the bathroom,
and a green fart started to materialize.
Right.
So
I love it when we're officially off the rails. Please continue.
A green light bulb. A green light bulb popped over my head.
It covers Jace, and when it dissipates, you see Jace has face paint on.
But the face paint doesn't look that good. But you get the point. Anyway.
That's right. You know what it is. You know I'm evil now. That's all. So there was something that I just thought was off. There is such a level of almost like anxiety that they're trying to push throughout that is like, if Thrawn makes it back, it's the end of everything, right? And honestly, I even feel like they could have pushed that message more believably. It just kind of seems like people are just saying it every now and again. But I'll take it as it is, because I think a lot of people are in disbelief that could happen. But anyway, there's this overwhelming thought of how dangerous that could be, right? I mean, shoot, dude, Ahsoka goes to another galaxy and is more convinced that it's Thrawn that needs to be stopped. That's the priority, more so than saving Ezra, right?
Yeah.
Like she's just outright saying that, basically. And then he makes it back. He escapes, and they get stuck on Peridia.
Yeah.
And then she's like way too chill about it, man.
Yeah.
Like,
dude, I have like happy ending question marks written. So we're on the same page. Are you talking about the vibe of like,
it's just, she ends up telling Sabine, she's like, it's okay. You saved Ezra. I know you saved him. And hey, look, and she's like, and he's where he needs to be, and we're where we need to be. And it's like, girl, no, you ain't. You came here to stop Thrawn, and now he's back where you came from, the place that you didn't want him to go, and you're just like, you know what? I think we're Gucci with these crab people. Let's just chill here.
They wanted that happy, positive, glowing ending and a sparkly Anakin.
I
and we're gonna
liked it. I
fucking do
liked
it.
it.
No
No,
matter
come
what.
on,
Well, that's the
John.
thing. I don't know. I still kind of liked it anyway. But
Yes,
but I
it's
completely.
I liked it.
But I can't well, yeah, but you
Here's
can't really disagree with the fact that what Jace is bringing up and what I had a bunch of
No,
questions about.
I mean,
It's sort of
come on.
it's sort of like it's hanging over us here where we have this great threat of Thrawn, and fuck, Thrawn won. He made it. That's okay. That's all right. We're where we need to be, and he's where he
Listen,
needs to be.
this is
Hey,
what I
Anakin.
love.
Hi.
This is what I love about us. Listen, because we make fair points. Jace, fair. It's fair. Like, I can't say you're wrong. I can't say you're wrong, but what I can say is I disagree because I liked it. Because you're not wrong. I see.
Okay.
I liked it. I feel I'm seeing this in a more optimistic way, kind of also weaving in some theories. Is that, dude, for one, they really can't do anything now. The Star Whales just said, I'm dipping out of here and left. They really can't do nothing now. They can fix that ship, and all they can do is maybe look for other planets, but they can't go back to the other galaxy to do something. So what's the point of like sulking in despair when there's actually 100% nothing you can do? So I appreciate Ahsoka's optimism. That also shows a lot of her change from the beginning of this like very stoic character. So I appreciated that. And she's always been this character to trust in the Force. So I have this feeling like she's just really trusting in the Force that like everything's going good. We got to move on, but this is where we need to be. And this is where I want to go into the theories part of everything. When we see Baylan, and maybe we can jump to this now or not, but I just want to touch on it, is that when we see Baylan, he's on the statue of the father of one of the gods of Mortis, the father. And we see the son, but we don't see the daughter. Why?
Let me move over here. Yeah, here we go.
That is Ahsoka's purpose.
What? No, did you guys see Morai?
Of course we saw. Of course I saw Morai.
Bro, that's Morai's the daughter.
Yes. No, I know. What I mean is literally right behind Anthony, that picture, where is the daughter?
No, right. As far as I feel like the statue's gone because like I know it's like taking it maybe too literal, but I feel like the statue is gone and then she exists more so just as Morai, like as a separate thing now. And I do feel like it's kind of Anakin is the father. I feel like Ahsoka is the daughter, and I feel like they're leading towards Baylan being the new son. If we were to kind of put those
is it the son that's calling him? I mean, this is officially the Baylan talk now.
So before we get there, I did have a thought because I actually want to get there.
Okay.
But I had this thought that Baylan is searching for false balance. And this thing that is calling out to him, because we see the father and we see the son, but there is no daughter in that picture behind you, Anthony. That is false balance. Just because the father's there, that is not balance. And so I feel that's why Ahsoka ultimately, the Force willed it that they stay on Peridia. Because I'm big on the Force. Like the Force is like, it wills things to happen. Because they need to bring true balance to the Force. That's why Anakin's there. That's why Baylan's searching. And that's why Ahsoka's stuck there. Because maybe heading into season 2, we're going to finally get a true balance to the Force. Not this false balance that is heavy-handed on the dark side of things. Anyhow, let's get into what's actually calling to Baylan.
Eric mentioned earlier, let's see, I do think there should have been more of a resolution for the season for Baylan, even if there's a season 2. And I don't mean just because of Ray Stevenson passing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
All right. Let's see.
Anthony's in Peridia.
He got taken?
No. Am I...
Oh, he's back. I hear him.
Am I back? Sort of. I apologize for the glitch.
You're frozen, but I hear you.
Okay, all right. So, and I know I must be frozen on like a goofy face. But, well,
Of course.
so
Of course.
yeah. All right. So Balin, we're talking about Balin, and hopefully I get going soon. And if not, you guys can continue this. You know what? Maybe I'll even restart. Jace, do you want to say stuff about Balin?
Stuff about Balin. Okay, so I really, really, really agree with Eric here. Although I do believe that they purposely edited this in a way to make it so that they could save things that they filmed with Ray Stevenson already for season 2. That's awesome. That's great. But even just to have like, I don't even want to say closure, but a little bit more direction. Like, what exactly was going on there? What is he looking for? What is calling to him? And again, even if it's not oh, it is for sure Abeloth, like we were saying, right? Okay, maybe you don't get that 100%, but at least a little bit more of a tease, right? Instead of him just once again staring out into the distance, which, dude, don't get me wrong. There's not many people that can stare out into the distance as badass as Ray Stevenson. But at the same time, I just want to know what is it, right? Or at least give us the audio. What's calling to him? Like, give us a voice or something, some sort of message that's being passed along. I did love the actual visuals that we got with it, right? So I love him being on the mountains with these, carvings of the Mortis gods. I was like, yes, dude, especially because I was making the whole extended theory of Anakin being the new father. So it was like, oh my God, for them to actually bring the Mortis gods in was dope. But yeah, I do wish that maybe just a tinge more. Also, been waiting to say this, so apologies, I'm mixing in points here. But man, I did not realize until I went back and watched episode 7 again, like how ridiculously definitive he makes it that this is like the end between him and Shin. Or, and just like is so it's just weird because I wanted to see if you guys felt the same about this. So I guess there'll be multiple things to speak on for John. I'm guessing you'll be going next here. It doesn't seem like we got many options. But I thought it was unique, man, because like we've been hyping up Balin as such a dope character this whole entire show, and I still think that he is. I really do. But I found it to be an odd turn of character to go from this guy he's such like a stand-up guy. Like we brought up the one stream where we're like, dude, I feel like I could trust this guy. And I feel he almost falls back and turns cheek like in a negative way towards all of those things by the end of the season. He completely abandons his apprentice and does so kind of like non-emotionally. Like he's very blasé about it, which is kind of concerning. And he just seems more self-absorbed by the end of it all. Now maybe that was just his goal in the first place, but I don't know. It just kind of seems like I still like him a lot. I couldn't help but notice that.
I think it's just a type of character evolution for Balin. As much as I like him already, as he is, I think he is so complex. But I think this is a type of evolution for him. I think last week he said something along the lines of those who seek victory are guaranteed defeat, and how we believe he's going to fall to that very same philosophy. And I think that's what's happening. I think he's being blinded by this feeling. He's being blinded by this voice that's calling out to him. And it's causing him to almost trip over his own morals. And I think that's what it is. And if the voice and feeling that is calling out to him is sinister, well, it makes sense that it's changing him in such a way that he's going against these pretty high ethical morals that he's for, I think.
Do you think that points towards the fact that it could be, well, I guess, of course, the sun. That would make sense too. But do you think it points more and more towards Abeloth?
Okay, so Abeloth, it was something last week that I know Abeloth. I said, I don't think season 1's going to touch on it. It doesn't make sense. And it didn't. Good on season 1. But I think now it is even more a reality. It could be, Jace. It could be. Now, we could look at the sun. I may be wrong here. It's been a while since I've seen it. But I think, didn't the sun want to leave Mortis? Was it one
Yes.
of the goals of the son is that he wanted to get out of this ethereal realm of sorts and he couldn't?
Mhm.
What if it is the son who is baiting Balin to come and get him and is going to use Balin to escape Mortis? It would add on to what we know of the lore of Mortis already.
The only thing, because I love the concept of that, and I think it makes perfect sense as far as like his, his goals, like what he was aiming to do in the first place. The only thing that I feel like kind of sort of contradicts it, and it's tough. I say it hesitantly because they're like godlike beings, so I don't know how much to look into this, but I believe that they all died at the end of the Mortis arc. Like the daughter became Morai, like she sacrificed herself and then like lives on in Morai. And then you could say that the essence of her went into Ahsoka. But I'm nearly certain that both the son and the father die by the end of the Mortis arc, or that it's very much alluded to that they're dead. Could be wrong. I could be wrong. But if that's the case, then it's like, then it only leaves Abeloth. But
I
at the
don't
same,
think they died.
all right, let's Wikipedia this shiz.
Yeah, Wikipedia that. But if they are dead, then yeah, it's Abeloth, and Dave Filoni would have to then add Abeloth into lore. And for those of you watching that maybe did not watch last week, Abeloth is who they call the mother, because we have the father, we have the son, we have the daughter, we have the mother. The daughter is the embodiment of the light side, son is the embodiment of the dark side. The father balances them both, and who Abeloth, the mother, is the embodiment of actual just chaos.
Well, and the way she becomes that's very unique. Because I looked into it a little bit more because I like kind of scarce details. I don't know what type of being she is originally, but she's a mortal being, while as the rest of these are. It's funny, you can't really call them immortal because they do die. But at the same time, they're like not exactly just regular mere mortal beings, if you will. They're like a step above. Nonetheless, she worships them. So this woman who becomes Abeloth is, again, she's not one of the same race of their being. She like worships them and like looks out for them more than anything. And they very much like have a bond with her. And she begins to age whereas they don't. And so in order to stop that process and to try and become godlike like them, she ends up drinking from the fountain of something. Forgive me, I can't remember what it is. Fountain of something. And anyway, it ends up corrupting her and turns her into the dark savagery
It's not
that
the
Abeloth
fountain of the
is.
wills, is it?
Ooh, I don't know. I don't think so. I'll try to look that up
Okay.
too. But I did find this, by the way. The
Okay.
son did die. The son dies alongside his father. When Kenobi and Tano learn that the son has succeeded in winning over Skywalker, Tano sabotaged the Jedi starship in order to prevent the son and Skywalker from leaving Mortis. But yeah, so they both die in that arc.
So you've got to replace them. So they're gonna be the replacements, maybe.
Yeah.
Yo, okay, Jace, as you're explaining this, bro, who does Abeloth? Okay, let me try to correct myself here. The father, who is embodying the father? Anakin, correct?
Mhm.
The daughter is obviously Ahsoka. That's the whole point. The son we're theorizing could be Balin.
Mhm.
Who does Abeloth sound like? This chaotic deity that wants to live forever. And
Oh no! Don't say Palpatine.
Palpatine!
No! God damn it! No! No!
It's
Ah.
Palpatine. If it is Abeloth, it could also work because it brings Palpatine into the Mandoverse and sort of redeems Rise of Skywalker, which I don't think it will ever be redeemed.
Oh, God. Well, then you'd have to make up.
Tell me that doesn't make sense. Tell me that doesn't make sense.
There's some sensibility to it, but here's my issue. Number one, then why on earth does it still take him so goddamn long to get to our known galaxy if he ends up somehow coming back within, like, let's say season 2 of Ahsoka? You know what I mean? It's like, all right, you have to make up some sort of excuse as to why he's still stuck on Peridea until literally Rise of Skywalker takes place. Or I don't know, I guess maybe I brought up, as much as I didn't want to agree that this made sense. Remember I brought up in one of the other streams that possibly Exegol, because of how it's such a crazy mess to get there. Maybe Exegol's in this other galaxy.
Yeah, maybe.
Damn it. So maybe he's on Exegol right now. And
yeah. What about this, Jace? Did Ahsoka die in the Clone Wars? 100%. I mean, she came back, but she did die.
Oh, sorry. As far as in that Mortis, she definitely died in the Mortis arc, and the daughter definitely had to sacrifice to herself to resurrect her.
What if Palpatine 100% died in Return of the Jedi and was brought back to life by Abeloth? And he is the embodiment of chaos in the Force. It makes sense.
Somehow Palpatine returned. Somehow Palpatine returned.
But now we know the somehow.
Oh, God. I mean, again, I would like it because it would give a better explanation than just somehow. Here's the thing, man. If that's what it is, okay? Oh, gosh. It's going to be so disappointing because I feel like they're going to have to allude to this mystery only for you to find out it's just Palpatine once again. Which, don't get me wrong, I love the fact that Palpatine's like always pulling the strings on stuff. But I feel like, we already got that with Snoke, where it was like a, hey, check it out. No, it's just Palpatine. And I feel like that's potentially what they could be doing again with this. And here's the only other issue. You literally just established Thrawn as the new big bad. And now you're going to just be like, oh, but by the way, guys, Palpatine's over here. But it's Palpatine. Palpatine's back. You know what I mean? But it does make sense, though. God, I hate that it makes sense.
Bro, unfortunately, you gotta establish the sequel era somehow.
No.
You have to.
World between worlds, this shit, and alternate universe Star Wars.
Hey, speaking of Palpatine and Ahsoka Episode 8, when they mention the Purge of Mandalore, there's some people, and this is totally credible, that say that was part of Operation Cinder from the Battlefront games.
Ooh.
Oh, hold on, let's see. Anthony. Oh,
I am back, sort of. So yeah, unfortunately, I do have to finish the stream from outside because my internet connection is dead. So I apologize for the interruption, guys.
Bro, that is so dope. He's literally walking the streets of New York right now, talking Star Wars.
With the blinking light behind you.
Yeah, literally. We are finishing this stream, no matter what.
Bro,
that gang right over there. Maybe I'll just walk a little over here. No.
Yeah, please
hey, yo, that guy's talking Star Wars. Beat him up.
Hey, yo, what's up? You don't like the sequels?
Awesome.
This is becoming one of the best reviews that we've done.
Without a doubt.
So Anthony,
I do apologize. What was?
No, you're good.
Where were we?
We were we got a lot done in the time that you were gone. We talked about the sun, we talked about Abeloth, we talked about how the gods of Mortis all embody somebody in our Star Wars universe, Ahsoka, Anakin, maybe even Balin, and if Abeloth is an option, that she's gonna be embodied by Palpatine.
Oh, so we're tying it into Palpatine now.
But
we have to.
Possibly.
But this is also assuming that Abeloth is dead. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, the only reason Abeloth would need to be replaced by another entity is if she was no longer in existence. And hey, we don't have any confirmation that that's the case quite yet.
Yeah.
So, in the case of so Abeloth is represents the mother, right? So we have the father, the son, the daughter, and the mother. I mean, they seem to be leading toward another entity. If it's not going to be the son that's calling Balin, then it has to be Abeloth or like somebody similar. At least that's what I feel like.
Hashtag Juicy Kujit.
Yes.
All I'm saying
is it could be.
They need that, or they need to just bring in my man Chopper over here as the uncle.
Yes.
He really is the uncle.
Oh, you know what? And actually, speaking of Chopper, I don't have my notes on me, but I wanted to ask something about that conclusion. I wanted to hear your guys' thoughts on it because overall, I did like it. But I wanted to ask, when Ezra comes out and he sees Chopper and he sees Hera, before Hera and Ezra can sort of like give like a nice hug, they almost cut off. Were you guys happy with that? Did that feel like a weird editing decision, or just was a creative thing? Just curious. And that's, I know it's nitpicky. But what are your thoughts on that?
But it's not though, because it's like they've gone out of their way to make every Rebels reunion like just slightly awkward. Like, bro, when Ezra and Sabine first see each other, they're just like, "Hey, what's up? Oh, you're here too? Cool, yeah, that's cool." And then, and then he sees Hera. And don't get me wrong, I like her like shocked, taken aback, like she just can't believe it reaction. But then they have this lingering shot where she's just like, just like is looking and then standing there or whatever. And it's like, make them fucking run towards each other and hug for crying out loud. I mean, you got Chopper, right? Like Chopper didn't hesitate, dude, like a good old dog. He just goes right up. And I love how you can even hear him say, he's just like, is that you? Like, dude, if you're listening, bro, you can understand Chopper. I know we said it before and I'll say it again. He's like the Kenny from South Park of Star Wars. And, it was great to hear him just like, is that you, Ezra? Is that you? And just like, yeah, dude, he knows. He knows.
I didn't notice that, but wow, that's sweet.
Bro, you got because I know you'll watch it again. When you do, listen for that. Listen to what he says when he like goes up to him. It's just that quick like, bro. Like, but it, like you could totally tell like exactly what he's saying.
Either that or he was gonna just brutally murder that stormtrooper.
Yeah, right. Yeah, maybe he wasn't saying like, "Is that you?" Maybe he was like, "Bitch, what's up? Bitch, what's up? you coming on my turf like this? You just gonna pull up like that?" Did you guys think it was interesting at all the fact that like Ezra was able to just take a ship and dip out from the Chimera unnoticed?
I mean, it happened off camera, so that makes it okay.
Happen. Listen, it happens all the time in Rebels, so I believe it. They don't need to show it. I believe it.
You know what
I
I'm
almost wonder if it was an editing thing. Like, was there a scene shot where they showed him, cutting out?
I don't think so.
Or was it just like, well, I mean, we all get the point, right? We fill in the blanks and we're like, okay, so he stole the ship and he left. But yeah,
it's
I
very
felt that, like,
Ezra behavior too. It's very Ezra behavior, but at the same time, my biggest thing is like, I'm hoping for this. And we're not going to get an answer for this for a little bit. Fingers crossed, though, that it was Thrawn who, like, they know, like, I picture, like, Enoch coming up and being like, Grand Admiral, we just got presence that a ship was leaving, like an escape ship. And then Thrawn was just like, Bridger, let him escape. Put a tracking device on the ship and see where he goes to. And I feel like he's just going to know, like, as far as, like, where, like, now the New Republic fleet is and shit like that and just be able to coordinate his stuff. If that's what it was, then I'm totally fine with the fact that he just got away.
Okay.
I mean, it's Balin's ship, so maybe it did have a track, right? That's Balin's ship, right?
Yeah,
I think so. And not just that, but then it would be even more of a giveaway because, dude, Thrawn should be able to connect the dots right away. He's like, I know that Balin dipped out. I know he's not on the ship. You know what I mean? And if Balin's ship is leaving my ship and Balin didn't come on my ship to come back from Peridia, one of these good guys must have made it. And, I feel like he'd be able to do like that deduction there, that intelligent deduction and know like, okay, I need to like look out and keep an eye on this ship and where it goes and stuff.
If there's a tracking device, that'll like really kickstart season 2 like off to like an awesome note, because like right from the start they'll just be like after them. They're like, oh my god, they now know the location of our base and blah blah blah. So yeah, that would work, and it would definitely fit for Thrawn. Again, it's like another fun story that I'm hoping, or fun speculation that I'm hoping is like we'll see come to pass.
Well, dude, and they could have done that just by literally one shot. All they need to do is add one shot, right? Have the scene where exactly as it happened. And then after you see them standing, from the different sides of the little like place that they're in or whatever, all of a sudden, like just cut to a zoomed in shot where you still see them kind of blurry in the background, but you see a tracking device like lightly beeping on the ship. That's all that you need, right? And literally don't say anything else.
I have something even easier than that. It doesn't progress the story. It doesn't progress the story at all. But that shot we get when the Eye of Sion with the Chimera is looming over Dathomir, just show the ship just leave.
Sure.
Right? Like, it doesn't progress the story forward. It doesn't. But we see the ship leave. So it's like, oh, like he got away. We see him get away. So it's not surprising. We're not kind of going, how did he get away? He got away. So when he gets to Hera, we knew he got away. It's not as jarring.
Yeah, again, I think that'd be okay. I'd be happy with that too. But I again understand it's very acceptable, like Ezra behavior. It's very kind of predictable in the best of ways. But yeah, I just at least hope that he didn't really just like get away unnoticed. It's like, I don't know if I find that very believable that the moment they get back to the known galaxy, all of a sudden a ship departs the Chimera and Thrawn's not going to be aware of that.
Yeah,
I get it.
Well, yeah, I mean,
get
you
that.
mentioned the word unique earlier, right? And that type of stuff isn't unique to like movies and TV shows, where sometimes there's a little thing that's like, there's like a story point that we really should see, but we just simply don't. And then sometimes by not showing it, they hope that like we don't quite notice. But I mean, we're Star Wars fans. We tend to notice freaking everything. You know what I mean? We notice if Thrawn has a dad belly, for Christ's sake. So we notice. Well, I guess maybe that one's a little bit obvious, but you get what I mean. I think the only other question I had on my list originally, which is now sitting at home 3 blocks away, is where do you think that this leads us for Heir to the Empire? Do you think that they just want Sabine and Ahsoka completely sidelined, and Luke is going to just become front and center? Is that what we're pushing toward? Either one of you guys.
Yeah, I'm
Because I've
I'm
seen a
trying
couple
to
people
think.
speculating. I don't know if it was maybe Star Wars theory or a couple people have said, hey, maybe we're
I
just setting it
know.
up so that Luke, comes back into the picture, because Luke sort of has to come back into the picture because Thrawn is a
100.
huge threat.
The whole original 3 have to come back. If you're going to do
100.
Heir to the Empire right, you have to bring back Luke, Han, and Leia. And I'm sticking with kind of what I said before, not because I want this to be the case. Excuse me. I'd honestly rather them go like the whole digital route that they did with Luke in Mando Season 2 and then Book of Boba Fett. But honestly, I picture them going more with a recast route. Again, they've already got Alden Ehrenreich to be young Han. I don't picture that being something that's going to be like completely thrown to the wayside. I kind of anticipate him coming back. And with that, I do picture that they'll just find someone to be a new Luke, a new Leia, obviously as close to the original as they can and everything.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be shocked at this point. And honestly, even though it seems like sacred grounds to touch, to be just completely honest with you guys, like I'd rather them do that at this point, so long as they make the right choices, right? And I think their casting has been pretty on point. Like I love all the people that they cast for all of the Rebels characters. I think the only one I'm still like adjusting to is Hera. But I still like Hera a lot. I think she's doing a great job. So if that's the one that's like the weakest on my list, then they're definitely doing good with the casting. So if they get the right people, I'm okay with them just getting other people to play those parts because they're such integral parts of that story. And I don't want them to have to worry about some poor ass excuse of we just didn't have the budget to make 3 digitally faced characters, you know what I mean? With like altered voices that are AI created or whatever the hell. So there's definitely like you have to somehow include the original 3 like to some capacity. The other thing that I was going to throw out as far as like with what we're leading to, it literally like as I was going through that whole entire point, it'll come back to me. Someone else take it away and then it'll come back to me.
I for one think that they will go the digital route. I think that's why they keep on doing it with Luke and the actor that plays Luke. I think one of you guys said it and I saw it. He looks a lot like a young Mark Hamill. Yeah, I feel like that's where they're gonna go, in which they'll get somebody who's a lot cheaper than Alden Ehrenreich, who looks a little bit like Harrison Ford, and then do some tweaks digitally to make him look like Han Solo. That's what I think they're gonna do. Either way, there's backlash from fans, no matter what they do. I'm expecting that. Now, Eric had this question last week. We didn't put it up, but I think I answered him individually. Is that who do you think is going to be that main player for the Heir to the Empire? And I told him, I don't think there's going to be one main player. I think this is truly Star Wars trying to do an Avengers, and it's going to be everyone sharing the spotlight.
Like an ensemble. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because at this point in time, it's not the Skywalker saga anymore, right? It's very much blossomed into this is really everybody's story. This is just Star Wars as a whole now. So yeah, it definitely makes sense as far as to kind of treat it like that and not really have a singular focus. By the way, I remember what I was going to say.
Hey.
I think that as far as moving forward, as far as progression for just like story that we're going to see within the shows at hand in this universe, I think Mando season 4, we're going to have some Ezra. And I think Ezra is going to have a game plan to try and more or less like gather together the Mandalorians. I know they literally just happened to have their little bit of victory, but to basically get the Mandalorians to save another Mandalorian, you know, in Sabine Wren, as far as from the other galaxy. I don't know if maybe that would be compelling enough of just like, hey, there's another Mandalorian stranded out there. We got to go all the way out to this other galaxy to save her. But I imagine that maybe that's how he starts to blend in, bringing in the Mando character specifically and really tying this a lot more together there.
I kind of see that as a side plot to an Ahsoka season 2. I think Mandalorian season 4 should focus on the uprising of the Imperial Remnant as a real credible threat that you can't ignore. I think that's Mandalorian 4.
Mando seems like the type of show, though, that seems to cover a lot more ground. Ahsoka was very, very, like, focused, you know what I mean? And I like that. But Mando seems to, like, tread into broader territory. It wouldn't surprise me for them to actually touch on both.
Okay. I think,
just Mando?
Well, yeah, like I wouldn't be surprised if basically the overarching theme of the season was the Imperial remnants being brought up more into power, Thrawn being a little bit more of a known presence and everything and more dangerous and whatnot, but that at the same time you have this side thing going on of Ezra just being like, hey, so again, I know this Mandalorian that's like stranded out where I was just stranded for like 10 plus years, and we should probably go do something about that because that's like, we can't be leaving her there. And I don't know if it really makes too much of a difference, but like, when and how should they kill Pelimoto? I think it's always like kind of forgotten about. Honestly, man, I even forgot this for a little bit, that Sabine is part of Clan Vizsla.
Yeah.
And that maybe that kind of ties into why they'd be down to get her more because like of who she's technically a part of and everything like that. Complete other side note too, I feel like that actually is a little bit more of a giving her the benefit of the doubt of why she might be like actually has some latent Force sensibility. I mean, you know, given the fact that she's of the Vizsla lineage.
There's some lineage there,
yeah, dude, those metachlorians be passing on for generations and generations.
Indeed.
Yeah. So there you go.
Okay. Let's touch on this for a second. How did you guys feel when Sabine had that moment where she finally was able to force pull her lightsaber? Because I am very conflicted once again. Sure, maybe there's a midichlorian count there. She is from the lineage of the Vizsla clan. So, you know, the first ever Mandalorian Jedi. She comes from that lineage. Sure. Luke Skywalker is a Skywalker. And even after training, he couldn't get that X-Wing out of the swamp. And Sabine, with the little tiny near zero aptitude she had to the Force, was able to do it. She couldn't move a cup a couple episodes ago, but she got a lightsaber and was able to push Ezra all the way up to the Chimera.
Oh, boy. I don't know. I mean, I sort of, in the moment, as I was watching it, I sort of dug it. It was almost like the Rey moment in Force Awakens. I dug that moment even too when she was able to get a hold of the lightsaber. But I also hear what you're saying. Yeah, we go from her, you know, unable to like grab a cup to like snatching that lightsaber, and we don't know if maybe she even helped get everybody through that trap door before it slammed shut. I mean, Ahsoka was like, help, but we don't know if she did. She's just like putting her arm up, and it's just like, I don't know. But I don't know, Jace. What are your thoughts on that one?
Okay, so I don't mind the lightsaber part.
Mm-hmm.
I do mind the Force push to Ezra. So
okay.
Basically, when it comes down to it, all right, if we are going to pick on Rey the way that we do sometimes, because of the fact that she's very much like a Mary Sue character. Right, she's like one of the most powerful Jedi, and yet she's had essentially no training whatsoever. Okay, well, Sabine's at least had some. that we've seen. And then there's also been a lot of off-screen training that took place at some point that then eventually stopped, right? In other words, it's very tough to say, like, I get it, from what we as audience members have seen, we've only seen her try to move a couple times. But that is not fair to say, like, that's the only time that she's ever practiced trying to use the Force. It's just maybe never really clicked. Again, I feel like that latent ability exists potentially even more so because of her lineage. And I get that's a little bit of a cop-out, but hey, it is what it is, right? And then on top of that, I look at that situation of her getting the lightsaber, like, that is such like a, when you have that sort of, what's the best way to put this? Like if a mother sees her child, like, being crushed by a car, and like out of nowhere, the adrenaline comes up and yeah, right. And you can have the strength to like lift a car. I feel like with that, it's very much on the same level. Like, dude, she knew, like, I'm about to die. And if I don't just put my full faith in this shit right now, like I'm going out either way, I guess, at this point. So right here we go. Like, this is it. I'm putting my full faith in it. And I think that was just that she needed. And that's why, again, I'm actually accepting of getting the saber itself. I just don't appreciate that now she has like full control to where, like, hold on, Ezra, let me do a calculated push for you to shove you up like a couple stories high into the ship. That's where it was like, all right, look, like, you just got a grasp of this in a near-death situation. I'll forgive you for that. But take it easy with this other stuff. You got to keep on developing here.
So for you, the Force
I can accept
like
that.
a bridge too far. Or should I say a bridger too far? Sorry.
Absolute savage. I think you convinced me, JC. I think I can accept the lightsaber one too.
Jace is able to do that. And sometimes I bring stuff up, and then Jace talks for 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm sold.
I take pride in that.
It's not in view, but Jace is going like this as he's talking.
Okay. It's Jedi mind.
It's just not in view.
But the lightsaber one was okay.
Okay. Suddenly I'm
you guys have had me like, I don't normally snort when I laugh, and you guys have had me snorting a couple times this stream.
But and that leads to a really nice moment that I for a second thought, are they really gonna separate again? Because I'm liking this episode, but that's gonna be a gaping flaw for me. But I like that she stayed. Sabine stayed for Ahsoka. Yes. That's the whole point. That's what we were leading up to, and I felt like it was a full circle moment.
The only way I would have accepted that was if it would have been if Ahsoka like specifically told her something along the lines of like, no, go with Ezra. I will stay behind. This is how it has to be. I would have, but narratively, you're right. It makes more sense to keep those two together now. Them separating seems to be at the core of of so many problems. Hu Yang at one point a few episodes back was like, he says like, stay together, guys. You always work better when you stay together. So yeah, I'm with you 100% on that. Keep them together. Hey, this is a bit of a nerdy thing, but did you guys also feel like there was still some more Indiana Jones type references in this episode? Like, I'm thinking of like that final shot of the cargo being loaded in. Almost, this is maybe stretching it. Almost reminded me a little bit of like the final shot in Raiders of the Lost Ark, when we see like
Area 51.
Yeah, exactly. It reminded me a little bit of that, but I don't know. It could be kind of pushing it a little bit. But it's just because the whole show started with Ahsoka in the temple and hunting around, and we keep getting these little nods to like the Indiana Jones movies. So just
but Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, they're like best friends and whatnot. So Lucasfilm, I guess, tries to pay homage, and Indy does the same with Star Wars. So I think maybe, and I can see what you mean, Anthony, because when you said that, the first thing that came into my head was that ending scene of them putting the Ark of the Covenant in the storage warehouse in Area 51.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Something like that was just what I was thinking. I was even wondering if maybe with Baylan, like I wasn't, and I know you guys probably, unfortunately, I missed some of that talk because that's where I left off at. I was wondering if they were gonna maybe get rid of Baylan in that way, where he opens up some sort of like the equivalent of like him opening up a power, and then he melts away or he goes away, and then we're done with Baylan. That would have been a way for his character to go out with a bang, but it looks like his character is going to continue. I'm going to assume recast.
Yeah, so to get on top of that, Anthony, some people have been saying, listen, Baylan's going to have to get recast. that's it's sad. Stevenson's not here, but he's gonna have to get recast that character.
From what
And
I
people
understand,
were saying if something like that could happen, Anthony, where he finally goes to the source, and it's something where like that entity takes over him in such a way that it changes his actual look.
Yeah, there are ways around it, but
that would make the most sense for sure. I'd be totally accepting of that. I don't know how much they've got, but I threw this out a little bit from earlier, and this is just something where all I can say is from what I've heard, which I'll put it this way. You guys know that I've come across quite a few leaks, right, as far as going on. And I don't really, like, if it's something that I feel like might actually happen, I just kind of throw it out like as a theory rumor, because even I don't know until the episode actually comes out for sure. But nonetheless, there is the same sources that seem to be very much alluding to the fact that a lot of stuff was already filmed for season 2. And that particularly there was, from what I understand, there was going to be more closure to Balin's story in season 1, but because of his untimely passing, they decided to go ahead and kind of like stretch it out as much as they could. Hence the reason we literally get no lines of dialogue from Balin in this episode. We just see him looking over that cliff, because it seems like they're trying to save that arc more so for season 2. So like stuff that they've already got with him. So we actually may get possibly more Balin still by Ray Stevenson as far as moving forward. But then you're going to inevitably run out. You know what I mean? That's the point. It's like, depending on what you're trying to do with this character, you're going to reach a point where if he's intended to keep building up and being this big integral thing, that's great that we may have more Ray Stevenson. I'm down. But you are then eventually going to have to cross that bridge of like, what do we do here? We got to have somebody else step into the role. And I'll tell you what, man,
enough scenes to fill an arc.
That'd be great if there are, because I would honestly feel like you can't obviously do a recast mid-season. That just would not make any sense. And I don't know, man. For whenever that time comes, I feel really bad, honestly, for whoever's going to take on that role. I mean, I hope the best for everything, but like those are some big shoes to fill, man. And it will be very difficult to look at him the same way,
Yeah. I saw some people on Reddit suggesting maybe the character gets injured and he has to wear a helmet or something. And I'm like, okay, that's an idea. It's fitting within Star Wars, but even that, it's still not going to quite feel the same. It really isn't. Even with this episode, Jace, I feel like there has to be something on what you're saying, because even with this last episode, we got so little of Balin. I mean, I don't even know. That almost felt like it could have been like a stand-in or a CG double. There was no dialogue even from him, was there?
No.
True.
I mean, so in terms of like just stretching it out, maybe there's some stuff on it.
And think about not just this episode. Think about like, no. I was just trying to at least like expand upon it, piggyback off that. Like, think about last episode too, bro. Like these last few episodes, we have really gotten little to no Balin. It's just been very, very minimal. And again, I do see that as an intentional move that I'm sure they knew from the editing standpoint. It's like, hey, we're going to have to sacrifice some stuff. We're probably not going to make everyone too happy, because we're going to have to leave a lot of stuff like hanging on the edge here. But if that's what we have to do in order to be able to have like a full arc for him next season still, then it's worth that sacrifice. And honestly, I'll be down for that too in retrospect if that's what happens.
Yeah, if they have a completed arc and it's a matter of getting creative with the footage and shifting it around, awesome.
Yeah,
in season 2 and I don't know. I think he was working on like one other film before he passed, but I don't think he got too far into it. And they recast in that case as well. I forget what movie it was. So this is, for all intents and purposes, sadly, his last appearance. So if there's more footage left, we have to see it.
I'm a big proponent of recasting as long as the estate is cool with it.
Yeah.
I even thought T'Challa should have gotten recasted. So.
Yeah, that was a good discussion. I remember that too.
Yeah.
We went back and forth on that, and people to this day will still say like, in the case of Carrie Fisher, how much more story was there? Should they have recast? That's a whole other thing, right? But
exactly. It does feel like, again, like sacred grounds to touch on when you have characters that are much more like iconic with the role. Like T'Challa, I think is I agree 1,000%. definitely a recast situation, even though it's like tough because that was such a great T'Challa performance that we saw. These ones are different because we have like legacy characters, like people that we've known as these characters for literally generations and generations. We've seen them pop up in other forms of media with the same appearance as these actors and actresses. So, right, it's tough to like completely step away from that. Which is why I think that the Han Solo movie was like mixed. You had some people that were down for the ride, but then you had some people that just like could not, they couldn't buy into it because it's like, dude, I don't care what you say. Like, that's not Han Solo. So you run
That's
that risk
me
of
still.
yeah, and you run that risk of like, again, the recast with if they're going to try and do that at some point, it's definitely a tough thing because it's not like a new iteration of a superhero. It's like, no, this is supposed to be the same Luke, the same Leia, the same Han. That's what makes it difficult with this stuff. Which is why I actually lean towards John when you were saying that about the, going the digital route. Again, I would rather that they go to the digital route. And I do think there is a chance that they could. Again, it's just because that's literally, you're going to have like a third of the budget of the movie going just towards those three characters. And I just don't know if I picture them being okay with that.
Yeah, I see what you mean. But Star Wars, though, man, it's one of those franchises. I was actually listening to some box office talk, and it's one of those franchises that makes his money back. If they use all that money, I'm sure they could make all that money back.
Maybe. I mean, Disney's hurting in general right now, though. So,
oh yeah, 100%.
That's another reason why it's like it's a big gamble. Now, I hope honestly that Ahsoka was a good enough test run and that they can kind of get a little bit of a hint that, hey, this is clearly working more than it's not working, right? And it's not perfect. There's plenty of people that seem to still have issues, and there always will be. But there seems to be a overwhelmingly more positive reaction to this. And I think if they just kind of let that keep flowing, then yeah, right, they could easily get themselves out of these murky waters. But at the moment, I would see them being very hesitant and skeptical to go down that road because it's like, hey, look, we want a good budget for a Star Wars movie. We're willing to put that behind a Star Wars movie, but we also got to like watch it, and choose our battles wisely.
Yeah. I think the last thing we haven't touched on, because it's so tiny, is Shin.
Okay. As she pops her saber up and she joins the bandits, and that's it. I remember us speculating last week, like, where's she gonna go? What's she gonna do? What's it gonna? Nothing.
Forging a new path.
Bandits.
I mean, forging a new path, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, hey, it's a little bit of a conclusion for her character. I still feel like ultimately she's gonna end up with Ahsoka.
She's the warlord.
She's actually the son.
Oh, bro, you might be right.
I don't know. I mean, wouldn't that be nuts? Wouldn't that be nuts?
Yeah.
I thought that was weird, man. It was cool to see her pop up. I'd rather it be that than nothing, but yeah, I don't know, like
something.
She was already on shaky grounds with those, bandits or whatever. Like, it didn't even seem like she was down to be riding with them in the first place. And then all of a sudden she just goes and finds them and she's just like, friends. And and it's just, plus I wonder what that's even supposed to mean. Like, how is that? What's that supposed to communicate? Is this supposed to be like, I'm in charge of you now? Like, look at me. I'm the captain now.
I feel like what that's supposed to communicate is we ran out of time.
Maybe, but even it seemed like it was definitely to be a bond forming type of thing, like as if there was going to be some sort of like, I'm telling you, man, I feel like it was her just being like, I'm the captain now. But I look at it as like, and I look at it as like, why would they have any reason? Like, they could easily just be like, yo, it was cool working with you, but no, get out of here. I don't know, I just found it to be like a bizarre turn to be like, hey, we got to say she's doing something. So she's doing something. Look at her. You see her? She's out there. She's like, okay, cool.
Yeah, she's raising her saber and she's hanging out with the bandits.
I would have loved more so of like a nice, like, have her go out like a badass. Have it be where it's like Ahsoka and crew are desperately trying to get to the Chimera as fast as they can. And she's just like done with it. She's done with everything. Her master's given up on her. She's literally lost all hope and everything. She's been wanting to try and build up to be in a high position with Thrawn. Thrawn clearly gives no shits about her. And so she's just at this like, I'm in a different galaxy. Screw everything. And just like literally goes balls to the wall to try and make one last stand to stop Ahsoka before she gets to the Chimera and everything, and have this like really amazing duel where, dude, maybe have it where like she literally is taking on like Ahsoka and Sabine, maybe even Ezra at the same time. You know what I mean? Just for like a quick little moment and everything, and have her just go out like a badass. And yeah, it would suck because it'd be the end of her character, but
yeah, and I feel like if that was, yes, as badass as that would be, I feel like we haven't gone all the way where we needed to be with her character.
That's the thing, is I'm sure that when we see whatever is going to come with her, that maybe we'll be more happy, right? Maybe we'll be happier. It's like, okay, cool. I'm glad that she's alive still and that we got a chance to flesh out her story more. But just given the fact that that's all that they left it as, and that there's really no insight into where this could be going, there's really no tease as to what is to become of her. It's just left in this position of like, oh, but okay, then I don't know. Could you have done something better with her?
Season 2, baby. Season 2.
Season 2.
I love Shin. Shin hottie.
Every time something's weird, season 2, baby. Season 2, baby.
That's
Bro,
right.
But
my
why
Instagram algorithm is just full of like the reason I watch Ahsoka and just montages of Shin.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it ain't Harrow with the cake.
Oh, I did get some of that. But now it's just
damn,
Shin.
just throwing cake
And
all over, bro. And they
I
don't.
got to agree. I'm a Shin guy.
No, hey, that's I respect it. I respect it. I mean, it's one of those. I ain't even trying to pick sides here. I'm just not gonna deny how much cake is on the screen every time Hera's walking back. And bro, it's the fact that it's not even that it's there. Like, oh wow, if you really look, you notice it. No, the camera's just like cake, 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 cake.
Filmed by
All right, next shot.
Filmed by the
next
Cinema
shot.
Squad.
Whose birthday is it?
I don't know, man. Choppers apparently something. I don't know.
Ewan McGregor's birthday.
Ooh.
Hello there.
Obi-Wan.
Yeah, that's right. It's Obi-Wan just hello there.
Oh man. I think we
If you listen closely, you can hear the squeaks in her pants going, General Kenobi.
Green farts.
Oh gosh, John, come on, man.
Let's end this. We're an hour and a half in.
Are we there? Oh, I say we go for one more hour and a half. I haven't quite annoyed half the neighborhood yet.
If it was Friday, but it's not.
Yeah, no, I hear you. All right, guys. I can't see the chat, unfortunately, but I'm going to assume there's a few people still watching.
One last thing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I wanted to bring this up because I kind of want to jump on this trend that's been going around. I think it's a good trend. So let me bring this up. Guys, I mean, this was the last time that we will be seeing Ray Stevenson in Star Wars and as one of the greatest characters to not only be introduced, but now that he has been introduced ever. I loved Balin. Dave Filoni deserves some credit. He wrote the character, but that's just it. It's just paper. You got to bring that character to life. And that's what Ray Stevenson did with his portrayal as Balin. If you go back these last 7 episodes, we are just singing his praises, not only the character, but the performance. I think it's easy to say this is an easy shoo-in for a Rubber Ducky nomination for Best Supporting Performance. And he not only is he's going to be missed, is what I'm trying to say. He's going to be missed. And thank you. And like it says, the Force will be with you always. What a great character.
Well said.
Absolutely.
Well
Rest
said.
in peace, Ray Stevenson. It's just an excellent performance, and he will be missed.
And let's if anything, just hope that much more that maybe we do get just a smidgen more, or however much more, as far as in season 2, if that happens to be the case. Because it's definitely something where it would be out of all of the. You don't want to make it seem like anyone's performance is not worth kind of having extended there, but that is one that absolutely more of it deserves to be seen for sure. And you know what? I forgot about this until literally earlier today. So it's a good thing this is coming up. Let us not forget that he also did the voice of Gar Saxon.
Yes, yes.
That's true.
So this is the second Star Wars character that he's played.
Mm.
The first live action character, right? And he's got an animated character under his belt. So
He's one of the best Star Wars characters.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Balin, I think, is way cooler than Gar Saxon. That's for sure. But nonetheless,
No.
man, like, yeah, dude, just absolutely phenomenal performance. And and thank you for not just, I don't want to say leaving us with something because it wasn't intended to be like that, but thank you for being able to give us a performance like that and have for us to have so much to talk about, you know, and to be able to kind of I feel like there's so much things where it's a negative focus now these days. And it's always good to give credit where it's due for a lot of stuff, but it's been nice to week after week after week have like one constant of, it's nice to be able to say this is through and through a very, very good performance, solid performance, great acting across the board.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Hey, you put it best. Like, we could nitpick little things here and there from week to week. Not once did any of us ever say anything, you know, about like Ray Stevenson not delivering, because he did, and he will be missed. Overall, I'm very positive on this show, guys. Just for like quickie closing thoughts, there was some high highs. I wouldn't even say there were low lows. There were a couple of low points here and there, and I had some issues. Overall, I was pretty happy with it. I have to think about it of like where it ranks in terms of all the series. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, it's a fresh series, so it's in my head. I'm hyped up from all the fun stuff and seeing Anakin again. I think they mostly stuck the landing, and overall, pretty happy and positive on it. I guess before we close out, are you guys sort of on the same page with the whole season?
Yeah, I'm with you, Anthony. I think there were some high highs and there were high mids, and that's it.
That's a good way of putting it. Yes, high mids.
Truly.
Yeah. No, agreed. This is one. It's very nice to be able to say that even at its lowest points, it was never anything that was unwatchable or you couldn't believe they would dare take it in such a direction. And man, that feels so nice. You know, there's a lot of talk about, will this show save Star Wars? And I feel like that's a very funny thing to say. I don't think Star Wars needs saving. Honestly, I feel like if you're one of those people that believes that that's an actual possibility of like, this show didn't succeed, now Star Wars is gone forever. It's like, then you don't understand what the franchise is as a whole. Because if that's the way it was, then this shit would have been dead years ago. Sorry to tell you. So anyway, do I think that it helped reinvigorate some passion within the franchise? Yes, I do. Because there has not been this much discussion around Star Wars for a decent chunk of time, given the fact I'd say definitely since Mando Season 2, because Mando Season 3 sure as hell didn't stir up this much conversation. Book of Boba Fett didn't stir up this much conversation. So it's nice to see that momentum working in Star Wars' favor and everything. And just overall, it's been nice. I've actually gotten a chance to rewatch a lot of the series with my girlfriend, because she's been just the slightest bit behind like each week. So it's given me a perfect excuse to go ahead and like rewatch a lot of it. And on a rewatch, man, you know, it's easy to forgive a lot of the things that we're so critical about before, because it kind of just makes more sense now, or it all like blends together better and everything. There's not that anticipation of like, I got to wait a whole week before I know what happens. So just props to them. Props to Dave Filoni. I swear I'm not going to say that the guy can't do any wrong, but this is a great example of why you need to just completely say, hey, we don't know what we're doing with Star Wars at the moment. You seem to have the best grasp on this. Here you go, right? You and Jon Favreau, just go ahead. You guys let us know what you need, and we're going to make sure that this is still in line with what, you know, we think should be going on. But you guys got this down way better than anybody else. You got to hand over the creative rights to them at some point. It's just, this is Star Wars at this point. It really feels like this is the direction that we've got to keep going in. It would be weird to go completely off course from it at this point. So props to the show, man. Definitely, as far as a solid, I'd probably give it like an overall, maybe like, if I had to say out of 10, like 8 out of 10.
I think I'm about there too, John.
I think I might be maybe a little bit higher, but not a 9, maybe like a 8 point something.
Sure.
But definitely there. I actually, in the live chat before we went live, I put a poll up and everyone could vote, what would you rate Ahsoka season 1? And 75% of the votes were 4 out of 5, with 25% of the vote being 5 out of 5.
All right.
Hey,
okay. There we go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Positive reactions, and it's positive reactions because it's honest reactions. This is just our feelings on it. There's a lot of hate out there, and I don't know. It feels like some of it is bad faith. I don't know, some bad faith actors in the game. I think it's a decent show.
Probably,
And,
yeah.
You know, it is what it is. There's a lot of money and hate, but I don't know. It's been mostly love around here, guys. It's been awesome. I feel bad saying goodbye, but we're gonna see each other again. We're gonna be doing
Soon.
this again. I think
Yeah.
Rule 3 worked out like super duper well. I'm happy to have been able to do it with you guys. I wanted to say thank you. And I want to say also thank you to the chat. Thank you to everybody who's tuned in all of this time. And thank you to everybody, man. It's just been a blast.
The pleasure's
sure.
been all ours, Anthony.
All
It has
right.
indeed.
All right, cool. Thanks for watching, everybody. Jace, you want to take us out?
May the force be with you always, and make sure that next time we're